Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a fabulous day today. Today, I wanted to share this beautiful vintage art book that I picked up on eBay for only $6. I love collecting old art books like this because they're inexpensive, they're full of amazing images, and they're such a wonderful source of inspiration. And even if I don't copy anything directly, I find myself paging through them and noticing little details and things that spark new ideas for either my sketchbook, sketches, or drawing, or just subject matter ideas. And these old pages are just fabulous. This book is actually pretty thick. It's like an old coffee table style book, and this one is just packed with gorgeous prints, patterns, and paintings that are hundreds of years old. So I really enjoy flipping through a book like this and imagining how artists worked such a long time ago and how I might reinterpret some of their shapes and colors in my own sketchbook. So this book in particular is called Japan, A History in Art, and it's written by Bradley Smith and was originally published in 1964. It has a history of Japan and an introduction to the art of Japan, and it features art ranging from the archaic period prior to year 552 all the way to the early 1900s with the new Japan. It's interesting to see an art history book like this because you can see how the styles change over time and even how they change with cultural and social progression, wars, new dynasties. And for me, it's an experience just to page through and absorb so much creativity that came many generations before us, and also to use it as inspiration, even just for simple marks and shapes and patterns in my sketchbook. And sometimes it's not the whole artwork that grabs me, it's just a small section, maybe a border or the way leaves are painted or a repeating pattern in the background. You can just see these wonderful patterns and everywhere in here. And then when you're looking at different countries, I actually got one for Spain as well. And you can see the different styles across the world. That's just really incredible. So these little things can become great reference points for mark making or sketchbook exploration, and it can be a really great way to increase your mark and shape vocabulary. And you see this wonderful ship here. I mean, there's just such wonderful artwork in this book and so much to look at and learn about. There's a lot of art history with it as well, and just general history of Japan. So I want to go through, because I've got my sketchbook next to me here, and I want to show you a few of the pages that kind of inspired me this week, and I've got them marked out. So this picture right here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see better. But this picture right here is actually from a golden seal that was made around the year 57. And this is actually the seal, which is really beautiful. It's in the shape of an animal, a curly-haired animal. And you can kind of see it. I think it's on its back, sort of laying. And it's just really, really cute. But it's just kind of crazy and amazing to think that I'm looking at a picture of this 2,000 years after it was created. And I love the rough and weathered look of the symbols, and I wanted to recreate those a bit in watercolor in my sketchbook. I don't know how the seal translates, but it's the shapes I'm after anyway, with the lines, the intersections, and the structure, and this really appealed to me. So I started painting. I grabbed my watercolor paint and just started making some of these marks. And at first I did some negative painting around it, and then it kind of moved on to just choosing a color and doing the marks themselves. And I also tried to get a little bit of that roughness in there. So these photos, this is actually a bronze mirror dated to around 500 AD. And there are a ton of intricate patterns on this, and I wanted to capture a few of these shapes as well. There appears to be some writing along the outside of the mirror, And so I was kind of observing that. But there's also a lot of pattern elements for decoration, including dots, lines, curves, and flourishes. And you know me, I love doing those types of things as well. And so I wanted to just capture some of those unique little marks that appear on the mirror. And there's another one on this page as well, and you can just see all of the different types of marks. And this is just such an old piece of art. I mean, it's, 1500 years old maybe, and it's just gorgeous, and it's bronze. And so as I looked at these for reference, I started painting some of the patterns and shapes directly into my sketchbook, just using watercolor. And I wasn't trying to make a finished piece, as more creating a personal reference library of marks and a place that I can come back to whenever I need inspiration. On this one, this is one of the earliest oil paintings in the world. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and it depicts Buddha. And one of the things that really inspired me on these pages were these wonderful little plants and leaves, and these kind of hanging down here and coming up in some little branches. And I really, really loved these little elements. And the colors are really interesting on this old oil painting too, but I really wanted to gather some of these elements and put them in my sketchbook as well. And the little pointy shapes of the leaves and the straight stalks, and really just kind of capture that. You know me, I love my leaves. The last page that I kind of took some inspiration from is this bronze right here. And I love this little pattern that's going up the side, and it's like these flourishes with what looks to be like a small flower or a leaf in the center right here with 5 points. And all of these swirls just kind of come together to make this really intricate pattern. And I wanted to capture a little bit of that as well in my sketchbook. And the idea for this is just to pick out these little pieces in each of these works. For this one here, maybe it's this little element right here that really just speaks to you, and you would like to try to incorporate that into some other sketches that you do or art that you make, and just explore with increasing that shape and pattern vocabulary. And so I took all of those and I put them onto pages in my sketchbook. And I started with this. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I started with this one, and you can see there's pieces of the stamp and then some parts from that bronze, just making some of these general basic shapes. Here are those leaves from the oil painting and some of the little motifs here. The branches with what I imagine to be flowers, but they could also be leaves. And then here is a partial pattern from that bronze, and over here as well. And I just started putting together these little elements. And I just was progressing through my pages and changing them a bit, putting things together, and just seeing how I liked it. And I ended up adding some little patterns of my own, like these little lines here at the bottom. And just very basic, made this tree with the branches and those little motifs, or those little flowers, kind of like you see right here. And I kind of copied that idea for my tree. And then over here, I started to really put some of these things together. So this shape here came from this, but then I added those pointy leaves to it, and then these here came from that, and then these right here in the corner came from this shape here. And so as you kind of move along, they sort of change, and you can make just some different designs and stuff. There's that little tree branch thing here in the middle. And then I ended up doing another page right here, and this incorporates some of the lines and shapes from that stamp. And then I made a larger tree, and instead of the other little flowers, I put those pointy leaves on the branches. And so what started out as this became something completely different, and it became something sort of my own, even though I'm using elements from this book. I think it's so valuable to keep our eyes open for inspiration in unexpected places. Vintage art books, thrift store finds, and even old magazines, they can all be amazing resources. You don't need to copy the whole artwork. Just take bits and pieces that speak to you and add them into your own visual vocabulary and let them grow into something new in your sketchbook. It's also a great way to keep elements of this historical art alive, or to use them to create something of your own style and taste, whether that's something complicated and intricate or simple and playful. And here's another illustration that I really love, and you can just see so much different detail in here, and it's just a wonderful illustration and work of art. So if you come across old art books at a yard sale, a library sale, or online, give them a try. For just a few dollars, you can open up a whole world of inspiration. And I really thank you for joining me while I explored this one. And I hope it encourages you to start building your own reference library of shapes, patterns, and marks. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, keep creating.